California's Monterey Peninsula is peaceful, a beautiful setting for golf. Today, the IndyCars invade. It's the last race of 1995, a year of firsts. 4 different drivers won for the first time in their careers. Firestone returned to IndyCar racing and won its first race in 21 years with Scott Pruitt. Ford captured the first manufacturers' championship by virtue of its 11 wins. Honda was victorious for the first time in their IndyCar history. And for the first time since '85, 9 different drivers won races. 3,600 miles away from the first race at Miami, less than 200 miles remain. The PPG Cup awaits a new name. From the beautiful Laguna Seca Raceway, it's the final race of the PPG IndyCar World Series. The Toyota Grand Prix of Monterey, featuring the Bank of America 300. Hello and welcome. I'm Paul Page, the final race of the IndyCar season, and this is the man where the spotlight rests. Jacques Villeneuve, you can wrap up the championship here. You must be 8th or better to do so. What does that do to your race? What does that do to the pressure?
Well, there's a lot of pressure because we can lose or win the championship this weekend, depending on what happened with Alonso Jr. But it's gonna the plan is gonna depend on what happens in the race. If we can stay in the lead, that's the best way to keep out of trouble. It's better than to be in the middle of the pack and try to avoid anybody. And you know, if you're trying to take it easy, you're gonna break a little earlier, and then you have the other guys fighting. Then that's when something stupid could happen. So if we can stay in the lead, that's where we're gonna try.
So it's really more dangerous to lay back and try and only be 8th.
Yeah, if you can be in the lead, it's better to stay there. If you're in the middle of the pack, then you still have to drive aggressively, so you're not laying back too much, but you don't want to make any stupid move.
Well, Jack, we wish you the best today. Hopefully we'll see you as a champion at the end. Now, there are other drivers here going to contest his positioning. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, here in the front row alongside Villeneuve, Brian Herta, the 3rd time this year that Brian has been in the front row. And Brian, I know this provides a great opportunity. Villeneuve's been so tough all year long, but in your mind, what's the key now to get your first IndyCar victory today?
Well, you know, I think we got to really keep our heads about us, and you know, Jacques got the championship to think about, so you know, maybe I can attack early, maybe I can take some chances that he can't afford to. So we just got to kind of see how it plays out. If I get an opportunity, you know, we're going to have to go for it because, you know, we're really out of the championship, so we're going to go flat out for that win.
A lot of disappointments for this team this year, but they're hoping to finish on a big note today. Now, here's another interesting part of this combination. Joining Chip Ganassi this year, Joe Montana, one of the greatest ever to play in the NFL. Give us a quick assessment now of your rookie year being associated in IndyCar racing.
Well, it's been a lot more than even I expected. I knew it was going to be a lot of fun, and the best part about it was a lot more than I did expect. And a lot of learning going on for me because I've been so close to it, both, you know, on the track and behind the scenes. So it's been a tough year, but you know, we got some improving to do. We've had some tough breaks, like you said, but hey, that's the way the things go in this sport, and we'll look forward to a good year next year.
Been a great addition to have you on the IndyCar circuit. We're looking forward to '96. Thank you, Joe Montana. He's the grand marshal of all of this today. Now, there are a lot of other stories. Jan Beekes has got one of them.
Well, Gary, starting in the 3rd position today, and of course coming off his best finish ever in an IndyCar race just last weekend in Vancouver. Now, this is just your best shot, you think, of winning one of these things?
Yeah, I think we got a chance today. You know, I'll certainly push hard, try and beat Jacques and the rest of the guys, but it's going to be a tough, long afternoon, I think.
Gilles de Ferran starts on the inside of row 2. Paul?
Well, with 95 coming to an end, we look ahead to 1996 and some of the changes that may in fact occur there as we take a look at the starting field. They sit down on the front straightaway ready to go. We know, of course, that Jack heads off to Formula One after today. Teo Fabi remains with his Forsyth team, and there's the very real possibility that he's going to be joined by Greg Moore, the Indy Lights champion. Paul Tracy, he goes back to Roger Penske, the exercise of the option of his contract occurring there. Andre Ribeiro, well, he stays right where he is at Tasman and will be joined possibly by Scott Goodyear. That should be a nice combination. Arie Luyendyk, chances are good that he may be at Arciero Wells. And Christian Fittipaldi, he heads off to Newman Haas to replace Paul Tracy. And speaking of Christian Fittipaldi, let's go to Gary Gerald.
Paul, we've talked so many times about the new faces that have made this 95 season so very exciting. Without question, the man driving his final race for Derek Walker this year is one of them. Christian Fittipaldi here getting final instructions in the cockpit. He's going to try to wrap up Rookie of the Year honors today, but he's got a long way to go in this one. His work is really cut out for him. He's back here in the 9th row. But as we mentioned, final drive now for Derek Walker's team. Paul Newman, incidentally, came by just minutes ago. Congratulated him. He'll be in the Newman-Haas car next year. Paul?
All right, Christian Fittipaldi waits, as does the rest of the starting field for the command. For the final time in 1995 to start the engines, Danny Sullivan, recovering from his accident at the Michigan 500, the 88 champion here, is the fellow who will deliver the order to send them into life.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
All right, cackle them, baby. Raul Boisel fires up his machine. The rest of the field all starting their cars ready to go racing. 26 sit on the starting grid on the pit straight. Jacques Villeneuve, he's the man of the focus. Of course, Al Unser Jr. will try to carve up through this field, and we'll be back with a start after this. We're moving even closer now to the start of the final race of the 1995 PPG IndyCar World Series here at Laguna Seca Raceway. And in the past few minutes, Derek Daly has come up with some information that could affect the outcome of the race.
And Paul, it concerns tires and not which brand any car uses. But for some reason, the abrasive surface here at Laguna Seca seems to destroy the rear tires on imbalanced cars in as little as 10 or 12 laps. Now, two of the well-balanced cars have been Brian Herta and Jacques Villeneuve, even in the sunshine and on worn tires. That could bode very well for those two drivers this afternoon.
Now, I want to show you the point standings right now at the top of the points order. And look in parentheses alongside Villeneuve and Al Unser Jr. Those are the points they would have if the current appeal would actually reverse the disqualification of Al Unser Jr. at Portland. It's kind of complicated, but Gary Gerould can make some sense of it for us.
Paul, there's no question now that this appeal has cast a big cloud of uncertainty over this final race of this season, but I think a couple of simple things to remember might help make it an easier day for all race fans. Keep this in mind. Jacques Villeneuve finishes 8th or better today. Regardless of the outcome of the appeal, Jacques wins the championship. Al Unser, however, if he finishes 3rd or worse, he's eliminated from any championship consideration, depending what happens with the appeal. Now, the appeal process begins September 18th. The 3-judge panel has been picked. They will hear the appeal that's been filed by Roger Penske, and then they will render a decision. But that's down the road. Junior, of course, is determined that he wants to keep the hopes alive as best he can today. He has to win this race. He's starting way back in 14th position. Nobody's ever won this race from that far back in the field. He's got a long way to go. But then remember, in the last 4 races, he's won 2, he's finished 2nd, he's finished 3rd. He wants to keep that roll going, Paul.
Well, on the other hand, let's hope it gets decided on the racetrack here. Now behind the PPG safety cars, the field is rolling on the first warm-up lap. And when we come back, we'll look at how the field consists. All right, as they continue to warm up, let's take a look at the starting grid here on the pole. Jacques Villeneuve, this is the 6th pole in his last 9 races, and all have been new track records. Alongside is Brian Herta. He makes his 3rd front row start in only his 22nd race. In row 2, Gilles de Ferran. 2nd place finish last week in Vancouver was a career best. And Teo Fabi, he won the first IndyCar race in Laguna back in '83. In row 3, Scott Pruitt, the Michigan 500 winner. And Mauricio Gugelmin, he's tied with Villeneuve for the most times running at the finish of a race. In row 4, it's Jimmy Vasser. He scored the 2nd highest number of points on natural road courses this year. And Paul Tracy, the winner of the last 2 races here at Laguna Seca in his last start for Newman-Haas. Row 5, Andre Ribeiro. His best finish on a road course was 4th at Elkhart Lake. And Parker Johnstone, this is his best ever start on a road course. In the 6th row, it's Bobby Rahal. He won 4 in a row here. And Michael Andretti, who led every lap on his way to wins in '91 and '92. In row 7, Raul Boisel. And Al Unser Jr., who must finish 3rd or better to defend his PPG title. In row 8, Adrian Fernandez and Robbie Gordon. In row 9, Christian Fittipaldi and Stefan Johansson. The 10th row, Juan Manuel Fangio and Emerson Fittipaldi. The 11th row, Frederick Ekblom and Carlos Guerrero. In row 12, Marco Greco and Alessandro Zampedri. And the 13th row, Mimo Chiatarella and Hiro Matsushita. So that's the way they line up here, as now behind the single Toyota PPG pace car, they line up. Here is the race analysis, 84 laps. Villeneuve needs that 8th or better if he's going to clinch the PPG Cup Championship. Fuel stops, 24th lap. And then depending on yellows, we'll see how it goes. Today's field, there's the lineup of chassis and engines. And the circuit here at Laguna Seca is magnificent. 7-story elevation difference. And where can you pass here? Well, fortunately, there are a number of good passing zones, but I'll tell you what, the competition is always close here. And where can you get in trouble? Well, we've got a whole group of places, and they're all the same as the passing zones. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Team we haven't heard much from this weekend, Newman Haas. Consider their drivers have done in the last 4 years. Tracy winning at the last 2, Michael Andretti winning at the 2 years before. They start 8th and 12th today, but Michael told me after the morning warm-up session they think they found the combination to get the car handling the way they wanted. He's very optimistic, even though he's starting at mid-pack. Jan?
Just a couple of quick points here. First of all, Derek talked about the tires, potential problems here. Think of the chassis that's kindest on the tires. A lot of people think it's the Penske chassis. Also, a lot of crew chiefs up and down pit road already calling their drivers saying, watch out for that first turn. It can be notorious here at Laguna Seca. Paul?
All right, behind that beautiful yellow Toyota pace car, Derek Daly. We're looking at a wave of changing age. Youth is really here.
The youth movement in IndyCar racing. Consider this fact. The front row of the grid today is 24.5 years of age on average. 2 years ago, Emerson and Paul Tracy were on the front row. That was an average of 35 years of age. And just 5 years ago, the average age was 45 years of age when Mario and Danny Sullivan started on the front row of the grid. So youth and bravery are to the forefront here at IndyCar racing.
They climb the hill now. This is up to the top of the elevation at this beautiful racetrack here, right on the edge of the former Fort Ord. And there is the corkscrew, a sudden dip, a turn to the left and downhill. It's like a roller coaster as you head down. And in competition, it's magnificent. There are 4 former Laguna winners in today's field. Teo Fabi, Bobby Rahal, Michael Andretti, and Paul Tracy. Now they come sweeping down the hill. It's a very short lead from the final turn to the green flag as they turn onto the pit stage. So they're going to try to assemble as best they can before the corner. And of course, the starter will be watching them so very carefully. Jacques Villeneuve takes them off the corner. The revs come up. And here we go. The final race of the season is underway. Villeneuve takes him down into the first corner. DeFerrin tucks in very close. Herta works to the outside, as does Fabi. Down through the first corner, it's still Villeneuve. Fabi tries to make a move to the inside. Villeneuve runs all the way to the edge of the course. One car spinning at the back of the field. Not a factor. Gets off safely. Should be able to get back on.
That might have been one of the best starts we've seen. It's Robbie Gordon to continue his disastrous weekend here. Started all the way back in 16th, and look at the build-up on that rear tire. So soft that rubber just sucks up the stones and the gravel offline.
Apparently nudged there, reporting by Adrian Fernandez. Now to the top of the hill as Villeneuve begins to pull out a bit of an advantage over second place. Brian Herta. And in third place as we're going yellow. They're going to go to a full course yellow. And part of their concern has been throughout the weekend when a car gets off in some of those critical areas, they'll spray so much rock and sand on the track that it's dangerous for everyone behind. So now the front of the field slows down at the end of the first lap.
And I began to mention that was one of the best starts we have seen on a road course because they were 2 by 2, absolutely in tandem in a perfect drag race all the way down. So Brian Herta began to challenge Jacques Villeneuve. We can have a look at it in replay as Robbie Gordon makes his way back on slowly. He gets tapped by Fernandez. That's Fernandez off the road.
No, everything's okay. If you need some tires, check those tires out.
Derek Walker talking with his driver, Robbie Gordon. Another look at this situation that brought out a full course yellow.
Tries to go outside Fernandez. Oh, he gets in trouble. to go on the one small piece of ground, and an early time to make an exit, even if you have a badly difficult handling car as Robbie Gordon has had here all weekend.
So Robbie Gordon gets it around and gets it back on the track. We're full course yellow at the conclusion of the first lap. We'll be back. Come back to green flag racing at Laguna Seca. Very quick cleanup. Got the debris off the course. Robbie Gordon got back in line, and his tires and equipment all fine. So now we focus on Brian Herta. The look back to third place. Gilles de Ferran. Teo Fabius just behind him, and then Mauricio Guzman just ahead. Leading the race is Jacques Villeneuve. That's, of course, the position that he needs if he intends to take home the IndyCar Championship as the youngest ever to take it, and the first from Canada.
And every one of these drivers knows how they must protect the 4 black boots that contact themselves to the road, because that has been the topical point here, particularly after the warm-up this morning. And the 2 leading cars are the 2 of the best handling cars throughout the morning warm-up this morning. Now moving back to Paul Tracy.
Paul Tracy and Scott Pruitt, 6th and 7th. Let's go on board with Paul Tracy. Gilles de Ferran got around Brian Herta for second place. Now Fabi moves on Herta. Fabi comes to the inside. Apparently something wrong there with Herta's car. We'll keep an eye on board here. Boy, look at the brakes lock up on de Ferran just ahead.
Brian Herta is in trouble here because 3 places he's lost in less than 2 corners. Jan Beekes, you're down there?
Yes, Derek. When he came by the front straightaway, you could hear that he had a bad misfire with that forward power plant. So it's either electrical. This early in the race, it wouldn't be a broken header, so it must be electrical problems for Brian Herta.
We'll keep an eye on Brian Herta. Too bad that he didn't recognize that during that yellow. He might have been able to pop in and out with a quick change of electronics. Back on board Paul Tracy. Just ahead, 6th place Scott Pruitt.
And just ahead of him is Brian Herta. He is a lame duck. He just went by our commentary booth here, and the engine sounds terrible. In fact, Jan, it does sound like a broken header, very similar to the problem I think Jimmy Vasser had last weekend. There he goes, another pass. He's going to have to make a pit stop. He's got no choice.
Gary Terrell, do you have a further update on Brian?
Just got a quick word with Chip Ganassi, and yes, it relates to the motor. They don't know if it's electronic specifically, not a header. They are going to bring him in. The crew is over the wall awaiting him now. Oh, such disappointment. This team has had so many of these days where they've just been dogged by tough luck, Paul.
Well, he's on the way to you now. Just turned onto the pit road, Gary. There's Brian Herta. Side pods come off. They'll, of course, reach for the electronics. It's assuming that they don't see anything when they pull the engine calling. We can listen for the radio, too. Parker Johnstone, quick off, down in the second turn. The hairpin at the end of the long pit straight.
Had terrible trouble this morning in the morning warm-up. Went to the line thinking he's going to have a lot of trouble with boost, and he's obviously stalled the engine here, so this may bring out a yellow flag. I don't know what benefit it will be to Brian Herta, because that engine problem sounded way too difficult to deal with in just a couple of seconds here. But Brian Herta didn't get his nickname High Speed Herta for nothing. It was a winner here in the Indy Lights Series.
And they're going to get Parker Johnstone underway without having to go to a full course yellow, so that'll keep the track full green condition. IndyCar safety team does a spectacular job. We talk about all the marvelous volunteers as well, both from the marshals, the flag marshals, and folks from the SCCA, the San Francisco region up here, and the IndyCar volunteers, as there's a large group of those as well. Takes literally thousands to put any IndyCar race on. And you really have to thank them for the marvelous job they've done this year.
And they even work on announcers, as I know, because of what happened to me yesterday morning. So it's thanks to the people down there to put me back in shape. Believe it or not, I ended up on a stretcher yesterday morning, and the people down at the medical center and the Tony Lama Human Performance Center with Don Andrews got the nerve trapped out of the way, and I was back in business.
Al Unser Jr. moving on Jimmy Vasser. Derek Daly apparently spent too much time in an Irish pub in the area. What was, well, never mind. Jan Beekes.
We had a chance to check in Parker Johnstone's pit as he goes by the front straightaway with Doug Peterson. Asked him what happened. He said simply, he just lost it. Spun on his own. Paul?
All right, we continue to watch the move of Al Unser Jr. He is the kind of driver that does move forward very quickly, and that's absolutely the formula he needs today. Started 14th, now running 10th, up 4 positions. What he needs is first place. Michael Andretti working on Ribeiro. There's Little Al lining up behind Rahal.
During our qualifying show yesterday, we asked Al Jr. what he lacked, and he simply said speed in qualifying. But now we're in a racing mode, which is totally different. And this Penske chassis, as Jan Beek has alluded to earlier, seems to have tire management down a little bit better than some of the other teams. And Al Jr. has enjoyed that type of race consistency. And of course, he's used it to his benefit to win so many races this year. And now he may be a championship contender, but he's going to need a lot of help, maybe from yellow flags.
Al Unser Jr. his best finish, of course, his wins at Long Beach, Mid-Ohio, and last week at Vancouver. Tied for the most wins among active drivers with Michael, and if he wins today, he'll tie with Jack for the most wins of the season. That could figure into the way the championship is determined, because that's one of the tiebreakers.
And the team will tell you that they were mentally derailed after that disqualification at Portland, but Al Unser Jr. has pulled it all back together to become a contender, whereas this man, really his season fell apart, Paul.
8th place Michael Andretti has not been able to convert most laps led and poles into wins this year. He chases Andre Ribeiro right now.
Started 12th. Bad when you start back in the pack. Listen to the throttle. Has suffered oversteer all weekend here. Back end sliding way too much. This is turn 5, 80 miles an hour at the apex. Right there, watch the climb uphill. Gets faster. 115 miles an hour before he gets on the brake. And now it goes even further uphill. 7 stories high. There's a braking zone up here, but he's not close enough. Famous corkscrew roller coaster plunge downhill, trying to catch Ribeiro.
Next passing zone is not this corner, but the one after it.
It's down to the hairpin, slowest corner. Can he get down the inside? Too far behind. Second gear, start it all over again.
So Michael Andretti continues to work on Andre Ribeiro, though he has moved up 4 positions himself since the start of this race and currently runs in 8th place. The race is still led by Jack Villeneuve. He stays there. He has a championship. Alessandro Zampedri has spun in a very precarious position just off of turn 11. And as the rest of the field comes by safely now, they have, though, gone to a full course yellow. So they'll line the field up once again behind the PPG pace car. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Chip Ganassi, this day started with such great promise. This has got to be the most frustrating thing an owner can go through. What's the problem?
Well, again, we have some engine problem that's really not related to any of my mechanics, and I've just really had enough of this. I mean, all season long we've been fighting these engine gremlins, and once again today it's caught us. You know, last week Vancouver with the other car, Vassar, was the first lap thing. I mean, somebody's got to do some work to get these engines straightened out.
Thank you, Chip. Obviously a very frustrated man here. They fired Herta's engine. He's hoping to get back out, but he's lost so many laps. Let's go to Jan.
Well, Gary, from a frustrated owner to a very calculated one. Behind me, Roger Penske has been talking to Al Unser Jr., and he's trying to get him to be cautious. Take your time, telling him where he wants him to be on the fuel. They think they're A-OK here, and of course, just like Derek said, this full course yellow will really help them. Paul?
Al Unser Jr. and Roger Penske, 2 very calculating drivers. And Adrian Fernandez, who had contact up in the corkscrew, has to do a change of nose here. So the full course yellow is working to his advantage. Now, this year, one of the most famous sports personalities joined forces with Chip Ganassi. And earlier today, 3-time Super Bowl MVP Joe Montana took the Bank of America lap of honor in a 1995 Toyota Supra. Crowd loved that. So we are still under full course yellow. The Ducati team, the Gallus Racing, they're working on Adrian Fernandez front nose. He got himself in trouble here. We'll take a look at what caused this situation. It was up in the corkscrew. Whoa, he just missed it.
And that was a classic case of understeer. You saw his wheels. Watch the front wheels. Turned, plow straight on. When you push like that, that's what you hear the drivers term as push or understeer. He's lucky he didn't collect that tire wall and do a lot more damage.
All right, so here is the running order after 9 of the 84 laps, with the significant change being the Brian Herta removal from second position. And de Ferran now had, in fact, before the yellow, been closing right up on the back of Jacques Villeneuve. There is the entire order for you. And, of course, you can see by this, too, that Robbie Gordon continues to function all right after that off course early on. Another situation involving Adrian Fernandez. Here we are, green once again.
And to make this scenario very interesting, Gilles de Ferran on lap 7 set the fastest lap of the race. So right now he has the fastest car out there. He may be a challenger to Villeneuve. But remember what Ganassi said earlier on, or what Brian Herta said. Villeneuve cannot take the type of chances that other drivers can.
Gary, what do you think? Is Villeneuve in trouble?
Well, we just checked with Barry Green, and they are a little bit concerned. Not a major problem, but the car has gone loose. He's got the oversteer situation, and so he's got a bit of a handful. And he said it's nothing, though, that we think we can't live with. They'll try to make an adjustment on his scheduled pit stop, probably sometime after lap 24, between 24 and 29.
Up to the top of the corkscrew, Jan Vickers.
Yes. Paul, when you had that great example that Derek described, the understeer that Adrian Fernandez had, and now we're hearing about oversteer, it turns out that almost all the crews, the majority of those, are calling in on their radio communication saying the cars are getting loose. So watch for that here in the early stages of what we might call phase 2 here before the first round of pit stops. Paul?
All right, watching Jacques Villeneuve. Now de Ferran not making that much headway on him.
Jan, unfortunately, you couldn't see the pictures, but that was not normal understeer that we saw with Fernandez. That was totally out of control understeer that was exaggerated when he went off onto the gravel trap.
Now de Ferran is able to close just a bit. As we watch this battle, Derek Daly, the comments by Chip Ganassi criticizing his engine program.
Well, that was interesting to me because we have to remember the Newman-Haas team with Michael Andretti and Tracy and the Ganassi team enjoy the Ford factory backing. So they should have all the resources they need to have the best of Ford engines. So that may just G Ford up a little bit to make sure those boys don't have those type of troubles in the future.
Tightest battle on the race course. Andretti, Rahal, Unser Jr., 8th, 9th, and 10th. You ride with Rahal. Remember that little Al, trying to pass Rahal at Toronto, got in trouble and crashed down in the first turn.
Downhill run. 115 miles an hour. That corner's all going to be different next year. This will not be the racetrack. They're going to redesign this facility, spending a lot of money to update this great racetrack here at Laguna Seca. Lengthen the pits. Pit boxes will be longer. They can start more cars. Oh,
look at the braking.
Runs through the tire smoke here.
Al Unser Jr. sitting right on the back end. As a matter of fact, the folks here at Laguna Seca are going to make well over $1 million in improvements to this track. And especially part of the moving of that final turn is going to lengthen the pit lane. And that will allow them to start more cars, because that's actually what limits the number of cars you can start here, is how long your pit lane is. You don't want to jam them in. Remember, we've had some problems here in the past. Remember Johansson's situation a year ago?
Great pictures here of this uphill run.
And there's the corkscrew. Woohoo!
Television pictures do not even do it justice. It is literally a plunge over the side and a straight sheer drop down. And in the early laps, when you come here for the very first time, it is by far and away the most dramatic series of corners any driver has ever faced.
Al Unser Jr. continues to chase Rahal in 10th place, Jan Vickers.
Yes, and we've been listening to what Roger Penske has been coaching him along the way, and interestingly enough, they just told him to lean down the engine. They were at 94%, now they're down to 92%. It'll be interesting to see if that shows on the track. Of course, that will take horsepower away from the the machine, but it'll save fuel. So they're saving fuel. Obviously, it has to do with their pit strategy. I wonder if he'll still close in on that battle, Paul.
84 laps of scheduled distance, 14 laps complete. We've had 2 yellow flags, full course yellows, during that period of time. Al Unser Jr. continues to work on Rahal.
And of course, when you lean the fuel down, sometimes the decision is made because he's stuck behind Rahal. So if he's not able to go as fast as his car can run, if he is going to be behind Rahal, why not turn the fuel mixture down, put less fuel into the engine? You don't need the extra horsepower because you're stuck behind somebody. You can save the fuel for later. When you're clear on the racetrack by yourself, dump the fuel in, make more horsepower, and go faster.
And leaning the engine down now is not mechanical like it used to be, where you could really turn it too far. It's all chip control.
All electronic, and the telemetry in the pit lane can tell the mechanics and the engineers from Mercedes-Benz if he's done it correctly or not. If not, they radio back to him, or in fact, in Penske's case, they have actually a little message board, digital message board on the steering wheels should the radio system not work properly. You can see here, Paul, he's clearly faster than Rahal, but he can't find a way around. Rahal is using a slightly defensive line, as he is entitled to do. This is a fight for position, not anything else.
We're also seeing a bit of buildup off the edge of the line as these soft tires start to shed the rubber. And that, of course, makes it a little more precarious for little Al to make one of those daring moves when he will dive inside a corner. Not quite as safe here.
You can see all that sand off line. Regularly you'll see when the cars run right to the edge, it actually sucks some of the dust and sand onto the racetrack. If the car following has to run over it, that is why sometimes you get this mishandling imbalance on these racing cars, which makes this track, as Jimmy Vasser told me this morning, the most difficult track IndyCars race on to get consistency.
So the fight continues back here with Bobby Rahal and Al Unser Jr. for 9th, while Jack continues to be the leader of the race, traced by DeFerrin. Robbie Gordon into the pits, and it is unscheduled. Jan Beekes is there. We'll also listen to the radio, Jan.
Yes, they're planning on making a change up at the front wing. They were trying to get him, the car, to be a little bit tighter. That was a very, very quick stop. This crew is excited. They know they've lost some time in the early laps, but they're hoping they can make that up, Paul.
We'll listen carefully now as Derek Walker talks to his driver, gets him back on the staff. That came off of Adrian Fernandez's car as he came sweeping down through the corkscrew.
And now 2 separate cars have run over it.
And that can damage tires big time.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing cuts tires down worse than sharp-edged carbon fiber, which is what that looked like. So Adrian Fernandez, in the course of 18 laps, has now had 3 separate incidents here at Laguna. He's a busy boy today.
Battle remains at the front of the field. 1, 2, 3. Villeneuve, DeFerrin, Teo Fabi, Gary Gerald.
Crew telling Jacques Villeneuve that he's doing very nicely now. He said no mistakes. That's what they're telling Jacques. No mistakes. They just keep pounding the point home. We checked with Jim Hall and Gilles DeFerrin. They love the way their car is working. Nice balance. And he says Gilles hasn't said a word to me thus far. Quiet as can be. Focused in that cockpit, doing a heck of a job.
You know what I find interesting, though, Derek? They're running laps at 75 seconds a lap. And that's 4 to 5 seconds off of the qualifying pace.
And from Villeneuve's point of view, it's almost 6 seconds off his qualifying pace. So although these 3 drivers are dominating and controlling the pace here, they're way off the ideal performance these cars can come up with. And I can only tell you it's because the tires begin to give up and they have to be very, very careful. Consistency is what you need to win races, not huge speed for 1 lap and then straight to the pits.
Villeneuve, DeFerrin, Teo Fabi, then Mauricio Guzman and Scott Pruitt, the top 5. There's Paul Tracy, 6th position as he climbs the hill.
Paul thought he drove the wheels off this thing. Mind you, I suppose he'd say that anyway, no matter how good or bad he was. But interestingly enough, he starts his test program, and extensive it is, with the Penske team in 2 weeks' time. Tells me before the end of October and November, he will have more test time than he has had all this season. So Tracy will be a busy boy towards the end of this season.
If you try and identify some of the problems at Penske Racing this year, Is the fact that Paul Tracy was not there to test part of it?
It's hard to tell. I mean, Tracy is known and recognized as a very good test driver. He is also an extremely fast talent, which tends to push your teammates. You know, racing has a habit of going in cycles. One team will not dominate on a regular basis. And we know, and you know, Paul, from past history, Roger Penske's teams go in that cycle also, and they will be back. And Tracy hopes they'll be back with him at the top because he would like to win the IndyCar Championship.
There comes Bobby Rahal with Al Unser Jr. still stuck right to the back end of his car, and then Jimmy Vasser runs in 11th. Al Unser Jr. in a fuel conserve mode now, apparently, as he stays lined up behind Rahal because he doesn't have enough of an edge to go ahead and force his way past. So there's no sense in trying lap after lap and wasting the fuel. You'll get some fresh tires here very shortly.
And there's that defensive line, Paul, we saw under braking by Rahal. You just move the car offline, maybe one car width, and that means the driver that's maybe thinking of making an attempt down the inside suddenly says, no, there is not enough room to do it. I saw a great quote by Rahal after Friday. He says, I'm happy to be the fastest ball driver here. And then he realized, no, Fabi has that honor.
Well, I was talking to him about that, and he said, here's Al Unser Jr. as he tries to move to the inside. Now he just lets him know he's there. Little warning for the top of the hill, don't you think?
Oh, you tempt me and I'll poke my nose down, is what Al Jr. says. He is so good in the braking zones. The Penske car is very stable under braking. Perhaps he sees a weak spot now with Rahal, and he may pounce. We're on lap 20. Pit stops will be coming up shortly.
Yeah, but you just see that line that Rahal used kind of moved over about a full lane on his approach into the top of the corkscrew. Here's another decisive point. And no, Al Unser Jr. doesn't have an opportunity to do it. Four-time winner here, 4 years in a row. Starting in 1984, Bobby Rahal. I asked him about that quote, you know, the fastest bald guy here, and he said, well, I didn't really say that. I said I was the fastest Lola, the fastest Mercedes, and then somebody on the crew said, and the fastest bald guy, oh, no, Teo's faster than you are.
Well, he's the second fastest bald guy at the moment because Teo Fabi is running third and Rahal is ninth.
And by the way, least we be politically incorrect. At least one of us in the booth has that description, and another one is well on the way.
Yeah, lightweight.
Christian Fittipaldi hit the pits. He was 17th at the start, moved up to 12th, and then made a premature pit stop just a few laps ago.
You know, I don't believe Al Jr. thinks he has the room, but he thinks he's about to force the issue here. But you can see Rahal, he didn't win those 4 races in a row for no good reason. He understands every line around here. That piece of debris, you saw that? Still on the racetrack. It's offline, though, therefore we don't need to go pick it up. But look at Junior. He's fast off the corners. That gives him the run to the braking zones to maybe attempt a run down the inside.
And they are closing on Michael Andretti. They're running a bit faster than Michael and closing in on him. Of course, a battle always slows you down a little bit. Use those offline approaches to try and protect position.
See again the tight line by Junior. Under power. It lines him up for the braking zone. Can't make it, but he's quick off the exit. Oh, he's loose. He's loose.
You said that this is an area of the course that it's very difficult to balance the car in.
Yes, indeed. And this is also the area where a lot of the cars drag sand and dirt onto the racing line. But this is what Junior likes. The run up the hill and have a little look down the inside, but he's too far behind. Vasser still hanging on behind him in 11th place.
Climbing to the top of the hill now, up the top of the corkscrew. Al Unser Jr. looks to the inside, but is way too far back to make a move there. So Al Unser Jr. continues to work at Bobby Rahal. He can make the move just about any time. 21 laps of the 84-lap scheduled distance are complete, and Jacques Villeneuve, the pole sitter, has led from the start. Look at Roger Penske as he holds Al Unser Jr. in the pits, drops his hand, sends him out. They decided to bring him in on the 24th lap, just as the fuel window was beginning to open. I would say just to get him out from behind the battle with Rahal. So Al Unser Jr. has just completed a stop. That breaks off the battle with Bobby Rahal. He is therefore the first of the regulars to come in just as the fuel window opens on lap 24. Jacques Villeneuve is still the leader, being chased by De Ferran, then Teo Fabi, Mauricio Gugelmin, and Scott Pruitt. Interesting strategy here by Roger Penske.
Yes, and that was a good example of a typical Penske move. Realizes losing too much time behind Rahal, couldn't make the pass, get him into the pit lane, then get him out and run by himself. Look at De Ferran under braking, gets it sideways, locking up those rears. And Mauricio Gugelmin, I think, having a stellar day, considering he had a huge crash when he had a component failure yesterday, missed the last qualifying session. This car here was his spare car. They rebuilt it around all the good bits left from the crash car. He is having a good day running forward.
That must have been tough on him, sitting through that final qualifying session, knowing he had no car available and wondering how bad he was going to suffer in qualifying position. Fortunately, he didn't drop all that much. The time that he set on Friday was a sufficient time, and he started in the third row. Has yet to win in an IndyCar race, but I'll tell you what, his team Pac West, with Mauricio Big Mo, they call him at the wheel, has had a fine season in terms of DNFs. They've really been tracking very cleanly.
You may be curious to know what Hollywood is. It's got nothing to do with Hollywood. In fact, it's a brand of cigarettes that is very popular in South America.
There's really turn one. It's an extension of the pit straight. To a slower car, it's barely there. To an Indy car, it's pretty tough. Then down to a hairpin. Here's Michael Andretti as he makes his first stop of the day. He comes in from 8th position. He was able to move up 4 spots on the start, but then got stuck behind Bobby Rahal and Al Unser Jr. and has not been able to move up since then. Let's go to Gary.
Big change on the handling characteristics. 2 full turns that appeared on both sides of the front wing. And Michael, of course, now long gone. He's hoping that he can improve on the handling characteristics. He was loose like so many others.
So everybody fighting exactly the situation that you suggested at starting was going to be the problem here.
Yes, indeed. And loose condition, even without the tire unusual characteristics that we have this weekend, this Laguna Seca racetrack has a history of making Indy cars go loose. But we saw that mechanic wind the screw out on that front wing. That is taking downforce off these cars, off the front wings.
First, second, third on the pit straight, climbing the hill. Oh, what a great view this is. There's that first turn. This is turn 2 in the pit access road.
What a great qualifying battle this was, Paul. Remember yesterday's qualifying? Spectacular.
Back and forth. De Ferran, Herta, Fabi, finally Villeneuve. And most of that in the last 60 seconds.
And now you see Villeneuve has track position. Look how quick Fabi is up behind Gilles De Ferran. De Ferran was slow through there. Fabi, this is outside our commentary box. That's where they drift up close to the sand. And here's the uphill run, the first of the uphill runs. 100 miles an hour at the apex there. Villeneuve has breathing room in these medium speed corners. This is 5-6 in the uphill run to the carousel.
Bobby Rahal hit the pits for his first stop of the day. Gary?
Routine all the way and nicely done. 12.6 seconds for a fresh set of Goodyears and a full complement of fuel.
So Rahal in and out, stop number 1. Al Unser Jr. has been there. Jimmy Vasser has been into the pits, as has Michael Andretti.
And the times are dropping off. Villeneuve is now 7 seconds off his qualifying time, and the people behind him are obviously suffering just as much. They are also running slow.
Well, they're now reporting that Jacques Villeneuve should be in the pits any time now. We'll hang here and see exactly what he plans on doing. Originally, they were talking about making it all the way to lap 30, but the report now is let's come in next time, which would be at the end of lap 28.
And you can see De Ferran is loose. When he exits these corners, he's got a handful of steering, trying to steer this car and keep it straight. But I can only presume that Fabi has a similar handling characteristic, and Villeneuve, who's not being caught, is grappling also with a loose car. We had that radio report earlier.
All right, so tactically, what do you do now if you're DeFerrin or Fabi? You follow him into the pits?
Oh, you follow him. Yes, you do if you can. Ford engine, Ford engine, Ford engine. Mercedes in the middle of 2 Fords.
So let's see. Of course, the question is...
I'm sorry, Paul, you asked. No, with the engine manufacturers, they will run as long as they can. The risk is, if Villeneuve gets in and suddenly he runs 4 or 5 seconds a lap faster, then you may lose too much time.
All right, he is in the first pit. Gary's there to watch.
He sneaks around the corner with a clear shot, hits the marks perfectly. His final drive for Team Green before going to the International Formula One Series. Turns up front on the wings. Again, dramatic changes. Will they go for the full load of fuel? Looks like it. Rolling 14.3 seconds.
That's Barry Green as he turns to watch his car head onto the track. Of course, Gilles DeFerrin took over the lead, followed by Theo Fabi, Pruitt, Tracy, and Jacques Villeneuve in the pit lane came up in 5th position. It's DeFerrin's first time to lead an IndyCar race since mid-Ohio. Jan Beekes?
Well, Paul, that's some interesting strategy because generally when you're running in 2nd place that close, you follow the leader in when he makes a pit stop. But Jim Hall deciding now this time is for the time for Gilles DeFerrin to come in to make his stop. He'll be in here very shortly.
So do you think, in fact, that was a conscious decision, Jan, to not, boy, I got to tell you, DeFerrin is really loose as he came over the top of the corkscrew. A conscious decision, or maybe Jack just pulled off the edge too quickly?
No, they knew because they saw Barry Green's crew roll out. But I think the reason being that these crews are right next to each other, and this will give Gilles DeFerrin a straighter shot in here. They're hoping they can make very quick service. As a matter of fact, here he comes. He stops it on the marks, and in fact, he did have a nice straight run behind him. Many other people always pointing down. That's an interesting scenario. That is because he wants a change in the wing. We checked there was a full turn. Wait, he's starting to pull away a little too early. 10.6 seconds. Gilles DeFerrin underway.
Turn on the right front wing. And here comes Jacques Villeneuve off of the last corner. But it doesn't look like he's going to catch him. It looks like DeFerrin's going to come up to full speed. Of course, you saw that Theo Fabi also came in. DeFerrin does get out ahead of him. And Fabi's coming down the hill alongside Tracy.
Tracy knows how valuable track position is, and Fabi forces the issue. He's down the inside, doesn't quite get the move. Tracy doesn't quite pull it off. But what a great pit stop by Jim Hall's crew to get DeFerrin in and out. Nothing like track position. DeFerrin already has the fastest lap of the race. Now he has the lead. Now he has control.
I got to tell you, it surprises me that DeFerrin was able to beat Villeneuve. Very interesting maneuver. Keeps the lead. Gilles DeFerrin has the lead here at Laguna Seca, being chased by Jacques Villeneuve. 10-second stop, very quick. You wonder if they didn't short the fuel load a little bit and were just watching up track, and as soon as they saw Villeneuve's blue nose poke around the corner, go ahead and pull the fuel so they could keep him in track position. Jan Beekes?
Paul, we have the answer for you on that question. They did take a short load of fuel. When I was calling the pit stop, you mentioned that he tried to pull away a little too early. I checked with the engineers here, and they said they planned on taking a shorter load of fuel. That's why they were able to do it in just over 10 seconds.
Well, it gave him the lead and created a problem trying to catch for Jack. There was another potential problem. Look at this. This was on the lap out of the pits. DeFerrin closing on Carlos Guerrero. Now watch this.
Down to the hairpin. Watch Guerrero. Doesn't see him. Squeezes down the inside. Realizes the leaders are there and thankfully gives them room.
We were talking about Villeneuve and in terms of what he does and how he approaches now, pit stops, everything. Despite the fact that he said it's a routine race for him at the start of the show, that's at least what he told me. The question is, doesn't he really have to be careful?
Oh, he has to be so careful. What Gilles DeFerrin's team did here with that short fuel load has given him a huge advantage because he has track position. He can go away from the traffic. Villeneuve, we saw him very close to DeFerrin for a couple of laps. There is no way he was going to take a chance and try and charge down the inside of DeFerrin and get his nose chopped off. He has to think championship. This has been a long haul for Team Green. They have done such a superb job at bringing Jacques Villeneuve along, and they hope to be champions at the end of this day.
So no contest at the front of the field here at the moment. Villeneuve being very, very careful. This is Fangio, of course, driving for Pac West. And he is the replacement for Danny Sullivan this year. And next year, though, we're going to see some very interesting changes in his driving career, because he will be a full-time IndyCar driver, we understand, with the new Dan Gurney Toyota-powered effort. We'll just ride here a moment, because with Fangio's car, you can just kind of peek over that protection on his helmet and take a look at the dash and some of the indicators.
Had a great debut at Mid-Ohio. In fact, has tested the Lola with a Judd engine in preparation for the Toyota Assault next year.
We're anticipating a stop by Jacques Villeneuve. There he is, Gary.
Unscheduled, Paul. Don't know what the problem is. I'm watching with the crew, changing all the tires. I don't know if he suspected he cut a tire or what. This is not fast either. They've got a problem trying to get the rears mounted. A championship could be in the balance. You just don't know. Now he's rolling. That was a 20-second stop.
Boy, and a lot of checking of suspension parts. You see him down there wiggling all the control arms. To be or not to be, Jacques Villeneuve needs to finish 8th or better to clinch the championship. And with that stop, he fell back into 11th place. And Al Unser Jr. needs to finish 3rd or worse if he's then eliminated from the championship. Right now, he is 6th, so he moves up while young Jack falls back.
Tony Sicali, Jacques' engineer, said earlier, anything can happen. He said Villeneuve, who's running 11th right now, makes very, very few mistakes in racing situations, but they feared a mechanical problem or getting sucked into somebody else's accident. And they have had a mechanical problem, and we do not know yet if it's cured, because all they did was change tires.
Wonder what the report on the radio was. Boy, can you imagine the kind of reaction that it sent through the pits when he suddenly reported he was coming in. There's Al Unser Jr., runs 6th. He's chasing Scott Pruitt. That's just ahead of him. And remember, he has to get further forward if he wants to remain alive in this championship.
I mentioned Tony Sicali earlier when he began to talk about Al Unser Jr. When he thought, could he win? Sicali said, if Al Unser Jr. qualifies for a race, he's a potential race winner. He is that good in race conditions, and when he smells a possible victory, Al Unser Jr. is so good at making moves in traffic, particularly in braking zones. But Laguna Seca doesn't lend itself to long braking zones, particularly if the tires, if you have to be careful with them.
Al Unser Jr. needs 2nd place. Better yet, 1st.
And he's already pulled his first move. He was one of the first to make the pit stops. Now he's going to see, will the rest of the race begin to fall in line for him.
And I'll tell you what, this is developing right here into a battle with great potential. 4th place Gugelman, 5th place Pruitt, and then Al Unser Jr. all lined up together. Gary Gerald?
Conflicting reports. Well, now, wait a minute. Barry Green is motioning me back up here. Barry, what was the problem?
Actually, a front tire, a puncture in a front tire. He thought it was something in the rear, so found the problem with back in there.
Okay, that clarifies the situation, because all the concern was at the rear. Jacques on the radio thought something had broken in the rear. They checked it. They couldn't find any problem. Now they've examined the tires. There was a puncture up front. That's why the car wasn't handling.
You got a glimpse of Barry Green a little bit earlier. He, of course, is the owner of Team Green, Australian from Perth. One of the great guys in IndyCar racing. A lot of fun to be around. Good sense of humor, like most Australians.
One of the great team managers in IndyCar racing. Has a special discipline about his team. He says he wants his driver at the truck 1 hour before the start of every official session. He wants all his mechanics in the morning at the same time to start work. And he wants his driver in the car 15 minutes before the start of every session. He said it is a discipline that he believes everybody should adhere to. And who can complain about his success ratio? Look at Christian Fittipaldi gets loose.
Well, Jacques Villeneuve on the pit out lap fell from 11th down to 13th place, lined up behind 12th Christian Fittipaldi right now. Bottom of the hill will probably tell this pass. DeFerrin still the leader. Fabi is second, followed by Tracy Gugelmin and Pruitt. As now Jacques Villeneuve must work his way up through the field if he wants to clinch that championship. Back at Laguna Seca, look at the front wing on Teo Fabi's car. That's one of those rubber pylons. What happened was he went off course fighting with Paul Tracy going down into the hairpin, turn 2. And in doing so, he collected one of those pylons. Now here it is. Look at him way, way off course.
And that was very scary for Teo Fabi. He has no option but to go to the pit lane to have that removed unless it comes off itself, which he hopes it will. It has not yet. So now Gugelmin surely will be under attack.
Look at here. Little Al comes climbing into this fight as well.
And he gets past Scott Pruitt, round the outside in a daring move, locks up the brakes and pulls it off.
And now starts to work on Mauricio Gugelmin, 4th place. With traffic to the outside, that's Guerrero. Little Al pokes his nose under the rear wing of Mauricio Gugelmin.
Dangerous position for Little Al, but he cannot expect any help from any competitor. This is unlike any other sport. It's every man for himself. You look after yourself, and then the results fall as they may.
Jr. to stay alive in the championship has to finish first or second. Jacques Villeneuve 8th or better to clinch the championship. Little Al with that pass of Scott Pruitt is in 5th place. Villeneuve remains out of the top 10. He just moved to 12th around Christian Fittipaldi, Jan Bikas.
Yes, just check with Forsyth Racing in regards to Teo Fabi. They're not going to bring him in. They said the car will be a little bit slower, but if they come in now, they'll lose track position completely. So they're going to leave him out there. Now what led to that, he was screaming on the radio, Teo Fabi was, that he was getting held up by Carlos Guerrero. And I believe that's what led to him getting off course and picking up that cone. Paul?
I wonder, though, if the officials will have something to say about that. It shouldn't be a danger. It's something that they use at the edge of the race course anyway. If it's affecting anybody, it's affecting Teo Fabi, and if he seems comfortable with it, then I guess you don't touch it.
Yes, indeed, and of course the man who took the advantage of that was Paul Tracy, who tried to make the outside move off Fabi, eventually did squeeze by on the infield section, and he currently runs second and is chasing down DeFerrin, who moves the marker up of fastest lap because at 108.1 miles an hour, he is currently the fastest car on the racetrack, equal to Teo Fabi, who did his time earlier.
And very quickly, race control confirms that they're not going to touch that car, going to leave it out. Arie Luyendyk, a spectator, Gary Gerald.
He's one of many race drivers that are thinking about 96, not 95 today. He's here. He's a candidate, a leading candidate, we believe, and he feels, for the Arciero Wells team. They'll have Toyota with them next year, and Arie says there's a couple of very significant meetings planned within the next week. He's hoping maybe even by the end of next week, he'll learn that he'll get a full-time ride in IndyCar next year with Arciero Wells.
And when Arie Luyendyk was invited down by awesome Al Arciero to go view that race shop, he said he walked in and he said, whoa, this is a very professional racing team. That was when his interest level went way up to try and get back to IndyCar racing with that particular team.
Well, Ivan Stewart probably can prove that that's one whale of a great race shop. So it's Gilles DeFerrin that still leads. Paul Tracy is in 2nd place, and then this wonderful lineup of cars. Fabi, Gugelmin, Unser Jr., Pruitt, Michael Andretti.
This is a great fight here. If you look closely at Teo Fabi's car, look at the side pod. The front of the side pod has a new aerodynamic device that has been pioneered by Formula One. See that black billboard on the front? In fact, that was developed by Gentech, which is the aerodynamic company that Benetton use in England. This Forsyth racing team have a contract to aerodynamically develop their own Reynard chassis, and that side fence produces more downforce than that car is under attack.
Gugelmin makes the move now on Teo Fabi and picks up 3rd place. So Fabi is certainly suffering aerodynamically somewhat from that cone there.
Oh, undoubtedly, that disturbs the airflow under the car. But we know that's where most of the downforce is made. Underneath these cars, sucks them down. Now Al Jr. goes down the inside.
And Al Jr. has Teo Fabi. So Al Unser Jr. moving up toward the front now.
Now to follow up on what Jan Vika said earlier, now does the team decide that they're losing too much time and too much track position by staying out there, or will that rubber nose cone wear itself away and fall off Teo Fabi's car?
So Al Unser Jr. has moved up to 4th place. 2 to go if he wants to remain in the championship. But at the same time, Villeneuve now runs in 11th place. So he's steadily coming forward. He needs 8th or better.
We have mentioned track position so often. When Villeneuve was the leader, it looks nice and easy, looks fast. Now that he's moved back to 11th place, he has to make his way past Christian Fittipaldi. We saw that earlier. He's passed Robbie Gordon, but it takes a long time to size up the opposition and make the move only when you're confident. And when you have a championship to think about, you better be very confident before you make the move.
Here's Gilles de Ferran. He's 1st place. He's had the fastest lap of the day at 108.1. And we look back now for 2nd place. It's 11 seconds back. And there he is, Paul Tracy in 2nd. Now we look for Mauricio Gugelmin to come over the top of the hill. And there's 3rd place for you. And 4th place, Al Unser Jr. comes down the hill, followed by Scott Pruitt. So that's the top of the order as the fight continues here. And don't forget, you want to see all the race highlights from the week that you would really care about? RPM tonight with Kenny Maynes. Don't miss it right here on ESPN2. There are many beautiful sights on the famous 17-mile drive. On one end of the drive is the Lodge at Pebble Beach. On the other end is the award-winning Inn at Spanish Bay. When in the area, drivers like Bobby Rahal love to unwind by playing golf at the beautiful Oceanside Links at Spanish Bay. Yeah, but we get you away from that quiet and back on course. This was just a few moments ago. Rahal commenting on the driving of Carlos Guerrero. Watch this. That's not a finable wave, right?
No, and it wasn't the first wave either. Villeneuve is in again.
Jacques Villeneuve, lap 45, is back in. He was in 15 laps ago. He'd moved up to 10th and gives it away with this stop. Tires once again. I didn't see any changes on the car, did you? Would have been at the rear wing if there was. Oh, look at the frustration. Roger Penske calculating.
Now remember what Barry Green said. They found a puncture in the right front the last time. So that poses another question as to what caused him to stop after so few laps this time. He's got a brand new tire on that left front. What a struggle this has become trying to win this championship for Jacques Villeneuve.
Gary Gerald, do you have any idea what's going on in Team Green?
Well, yeah, I saw a front tire that they were pushing on clearly way down in pressure. Tony Cicali in disgust, in contempt actually, pointing to the side of the tire, and I thought I saw a little cut or an abrasion there. And so this team that's hammering for a championship, they don't want this thing to have to wait out an appeal. They want it done today, and they're getting roadblock after roadblock. Let's go to Jan.
Well, Gary, on the other end of the championship battle, Al Unser Jr. seems to have things going his way. The car was a little bit loose, and they now have told him to go full stiff on the front sway bar. That will make the car tighten it up somewhat. Also, remember, he was one of the first to come in. So Al Unser Jr. is not that far away from making his second pit stop, Paul.
Al Unser Jr., 4th place, 17 laps, 22 laps since his last stop. 13, not a lucky number for Jacques Villeneuve. Both times he has come out of the pits with unscheduled stops. He's fallen into 13th place behind Christian Fittipaldi, and he's done that once again.
With Gary mentioning that one of Villeneuve's tires has a mark or a nick on the side, that suggests that somewhere along the line Villeneuve has been hit by a front wing end plate. That very easy cuts down these tires, and I don't know who he was trying to pass, but that may be what happened here to Villeneuve. But it's a long uphill battle still, Paul, for Al Jr. He has a long, long way to go yet, because Gugelmin and particularly Paul Tracy will not make his day easy if he has to get into the top 2 or 3 positions.
Yeah, he's really only moved himself up to the hard part. Marco Greco moves offline, lets Al Unser Jr. and Scott Pruitt through. Don't count out Scott. Once Jr. got past him, Scott's remained right in there. The story today, the continuing battle of tire conservation. You've got to move forward, but at the same time, you got to save your tires. Teo Fabi finally comes in, gets his unapproved aerodynamic device removed, and a change of tires. So Teo Fabi stopping for his second stop, 17 laps after his last. They finally, I guess, decided it was pushing him back way too far. And that's the tire that came off of Villeneuve's car.
And there is a chunk of rubber gone from that tire, but look, they're examining that tire to see, was it punctured, or is there something on his own car that might actually be nicking those front tires? Perhaps his front wheels rub on the wing of his own car for some reason.
Well, at least we're not aware of any contact that might have moved a wing around. You can see there on DeFerrin's car, though, how closely some of those components sit. And the tires themselves, operating in their dynamic mode, will flex back and forth. If it's moving too much and just barely touches a part, Jack could have a serious problem.
Gilles DeFerrin's last lap was a 78. 9 seconds off the pace of the pole man, Jacques Villeneuve, because he is caught in traffic. And there is our second place man.
Watching for third now. Matsushita, John Stone, and there's Guzman, the third place car.
That is a long straight. Then you go all the way back to a battle now. Remember, Al Jr. needs to watch what goes on behind him also. Because Scott Pruitt, this is a battle for position, remember, not just Pruitt letting Unser Jr. have his own way here. What a battle these two waged at the Michigan 500 when Pruitt did pull one over Al Jr. at the critical time on that last lap to win his first ever race.
So Al Unser Jr.'s team now talking about stopping in 6 laps on the 54th. We're just completing the 48th. DeFerrin is still the leader. Tracy, you saw the interval, 10 seconds back from DeFerrin, and then 8 seconds back from Tracy is Mauricio Guzman, and then this battle is 5 seconds further back from Guzman. Final race of the 1995 PPG IndyCar World Series. Championship still undecided. Could be decided here today, depending on the positioning of Jacques Villeneuve, who got around Christian Fittipaldi and moved into 12th place, but needs to be 8th or better. Al Unser Jr. needs 2nd or 1st. And if the points sort out in a wrong fashion, wrong from my point of view, then this heads off to an appeals court on September 18th, and the decision could sometime after that. The appeal, of course, for the disqualification of Al Unser Jr. at Portland.
Paul, here's an interesting scenario. Pruitt's all over Al Jr. If he sticks his nose down the inside, I'd have to let him go.
So 49 laps are now complete. Al Unser Jr. continuing to watch. Scott Pruitt, who runs just behind him. Gilles DeFerrin still leads. Scott Pruitt continuing to work on Al Unser Jr. Battle for 4th place. Gary Gerald, new information on Jacques Villeneuve.
Well, new speculation, and the crew is trying to pinpoint it. There is conjecture now that maybe it was a brake scoop on the front of Villeneuve's car that somehow was getting into one of those tires and caused the 2 punctures.
Oh, boy. Then what do? You take it off and risk overheating that left front brake? Interesting decision. Let's go on board Michael Andretti. Michael is chasing the battle between Pruitt and Unser, and in fact is part of that fight now.
Oh, Michael has an interesting scenario here now, because it's every man for himself, and I think he will just go and try and plow his way past Pruitt and get by Al Jr. And if any of those drivers, Pruitt or Michael, sticks their nose in under Al Jr., I can't imagine him doing anything but letting them go, because if he takes himself out of this in an incident that's unnecessary, then he throws all possibility away. Watch Michael's hand here. Watch this.
Look how slick it is for everybody.
Look, just look at the corrections on Michael's car. That car is so loose. which actually might tell you about Al Jr. and Scott Pruitt must also have bad handling cars because he doesn't catch them that fast.
Al Unser Jr. up to the top of the hill, starts down through the corkscrew, Jan Beekes.
Yes, and Al Unser Jr. is another one of those cars that is starting to get loose because in 2 laps he'll be in here in the pits and they're going to take at least 1 turn out of the front wing to try and balance that car out. That may be why Pruitt has been able to close on him, Paul.
They're also preparing for de Ferran. You saw that they had his signboard out in the pits, ready for him to make a stop, the leader of the race. And Al Unser Jr. apparently going to stop on the next lap. So we watch for de Ferran to hit the pits. Paul Tracy should be in right behind him based on the last set of stops.
Watch Michael.
Look how slick. I mean, he continues to fight it. He's just having a devil of a time handling that car.
Well, you can see a driver earning his money here. That was Al Jr., you know, I think that locked up that brake on the way down to that turn 2. So he is under pressure. Pruitt will make a move.
Gil de Ferran makes his turn onto the pit road. His pit's pretty quickly there, and here's Gary Gerald.
The nose of the car comes in here. The team, the rookie driver that was fastest here during testing back in the month of June. What a weekend he's enjoyed. Well, Prappa said we will not make any changes on the car. Now, Paul Tracy is expected momentarily. He just flies by us into his pit, and they're expecting no changes. Both Tracy and de Ferran went for the short fill. Here's a 17-second stop, almost 18 for de Ferran as he's away.
De Ferran takes a very long stop. Mauricio Gugelmin climbs the hill, and Gugelmin goes into the lead, but he's not yet stopped. So Gugelmin picks up the lead from de Ferran on the stop, and Paul Tracy rolls now. Let's go to Jan.
Al Unser Jr. has brought it into the Penske pit, and somehow they happen to have the pit the only one here with shade. So at the moment, Al Unser Jr. getting a nice shade here from the bridge. You know, we were looking for that wing change, and I didn't see it. I didn't see him make the change at the front. A nice stop, just over 15 seconds for Al Unser Jr.
So Al comes back into the fight. And here comes Teo Fabi to try and overhaul Al Unser Jr., who rejoins the fight at 8th, but looks like he's going to go a position down.
And that's Gordon Fernandez all over again, and they make it because Al Jr. doesn't need. He locks it up the right front, needs to keep this car on the road.
Brand new tires.
We talked earlier about de Ferran's 17-second leisurely stop. He was 14 seconds in the lead over Paul Tracy. So this temporary lead for Mauricio Gugelmin, I don't think he will threaten de Ferran's lead when Gugelmin stops.
I was going to be interested to see if Gugelmin stayed out, because he crossed the line behind de Ferran as de Ferran was coming out of the pits on the last stop. So this is the first lap that he'll be scored in the lead, and the first race that he has led since the Michigan 500. Let's go to Gary.
Here's some interesting speculation. We mentioned that Tracy and de Ferran took the short fill on the first stop. Scott Pruitt had problems on the first stop. He's currently running 3rd. He's stretching it. He's going to go 2 more laps, then he's coming in, and he's going to get a light load. It's going to be about 32 to 33 gallons. They think they can make up a lot of ground since the others had to take the long fill on their last stop. Will Pruitt become a contender? We're going to find out in about 2 laps.
Currently running in 3rd, de Ferran in 2nd, Pruitt 3rd. And I'm wondering now about Jacques Villeneuve. He is now 8th. That's the position he needs. He stopped 10 laps ago. Al Unser Jr. is in 10th. He has a long way to make up. And most of the cars in front of him, save 2, save Pruitt and Gugelmin, have already made their 2nd stop of the day. So it looks like it's tilting once again a little bit toward Jacques Villeneuve.
And you can see that de Ferran is brave down that inside move, but you can also see there is lots of tire buildup offline now as this race goes on here. So anybody that wants to move high or forces himself to go high can get in trouble very easy, particularly on the downhill run out of the carousel, out of the corkscrew. Look at Gordon's broken right front wing.
Yeah, I think parts of it is laying over on the outside of turn 11. That'll change the handling, though. You know, we have seen races, though, time after time where drivers, there's the other half of the wing. Time after time where the wing is turned down, the wing is missing, and the lap times don't change appreciably.
I don't think that'll be the case for Robbie Gordon. For some reason, Derek Walker, see that right front, no downforce on the right side of the front of the car. That's why the wheel is lightly loaded. That's why it locks up under braking. But Derek Walker is at pains to understand why on natural road courses they just simply have not been fast. This year they're fast everywhere else. But he realizes that engineering-wise they may.
A wanker, man.
That was an interesting comment by our boy Robbie. I don't know who he was talking about.
And Mauricio Guzman comes out of the lead, makes his stop. Jan?
Well, it has to go. Oh, for a moment there, it didn't come up off the air jacks. That's going to hurt the timing here for this pit stop. They got the wheels undone, but it took a while to come up. They're waiting for the fuel now. There was no changes made on the aerodynamics. Mauricio Guzman underway.
Well, they tried for the short fill, but it wasn't a short stop. 15.3 seconds for Scott Pruitt. I don't know if they had a problem, but they were hoping for something better than that. They're happy, but I think it could have been better.
So Pruitt and Guzman make their second, and theoretically the final stop of the race. Michael Andretti coming down the hill, still in pursuit of Al Unser Jr. and just ahead of Teo Fabi. So the second round of stops complete. You saw during those stops Marco Greco with a shredded tire, and they've decided to make a physical change to the car. Apparently they do believe that part of the front wing and nose assembly is getting into that left front. So Jacques Villeneuve into the pits again. He was 10th when he came in. So again, he is dropping out of the position he needs to wrap up the championship here. And Al Unser Jr. cannot now get the bonus point for leading the most laps. And all Jacques has to do is 9th or better if he wants to clinch the championship. 57 laps complete. We're now in the closing moments of the season. 9th or better for Jacques Villeneuve to wrap up the championship. He's 13th. Al Unser Jr. is now in a must-win situation. He is in 7th place. And maybe now finally, Gary Gerald, they have repaired the problem on Villeneuve's car.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of intrigue that surrounds the change. They pulled the old nose off. They immediately covered with a blanket. Billy Camphausen, one of the tech leaders for IndyCar, came over. We got a look at it. We saw some very ragged honeycomb down on the left front side plate of the wing, and then one of the crew members threw it under the blanket and literally ran with the wing back toward the transporter. So they've got it out of here, and the new wing they're hoping will not have any problems cutting down a tire. I don't know if they're convinced that was the problem, but they sure got it out of here in a hurry.
Well, as Derek has said so many times today, he can't take the chance. It's that simple. Jacques Villeneuve, 13th. You can see Teo Fabi got around Al Unser Jr. Jan Bikas.
Earlier we saw Marco Greco come in with that shredded tire, but up here in Robbie Gordon's pit you can see that the nose is smashed, the wing is missing. That was the contact that happened between Robbie Gordon and Marco Greco. Simply a case of Gordon working through, Greco not seeing him turning in, and big time contact, as you can see.
And so they have now changed it out for a fresh wing. I assume everything's in good shape on the new nose. Villeneuve, 13th. All 26 cars that started this race are still running. We're 60 laps into the run, 24 laps to go in the season.
Including Brian Herta, so maybe Chip Ganassi now knows what that gremlin was, and it will be fixed for next year.
Villeneuve, 13th place, needs 9th or better. Ahead of him, John Stone, Ribeiro, and Fernandez. Let's go back to Fangio. Take a look at his onboard camera. As he comes, I was hoping to get to you a little faster than that so you can see him dive down the carousel, but maybe we can stay an entire lap.
Originally, Danny Sullivan had hoped to get back into this Bank of America car for this last race at Laguna, but that was a bit ambitious with the broken pelvis. But we have an onboard camera to see everything that Fangio learned, because it is a learning curve during his first, I suppose it is his rookie IndyCar season, although he doesn't run many races. Balancing the car through the corners with the throttle. is the whole key to the overall lap here. One fast corner is no good.
As we watch Fangio, Gary Gerald, an update on Villeneuve?
Well, Barry Green talking to his driver, and the veteran Green trying to keep his driver right in step. He says, we're P13 now. Partner John Stone is next. P9 is all we need. Just stay focused. They just keep talking him around it. They don't want him to get frustrated over this turn of events with the cut tires.
9th place is what he needs now. Alonso Jr. needs to win. The bonus point beginning to make a difference here. DeFerrin still the leader.
And look at those chunks of rubber beginning to get kicked up on the side of the racetrack. As you go down through from the carousel, down through turn 9 in particular, the next corner, the left-hander they're going to go to now, you can clearly see the marbles on the outside of the racing line. There they are right there. Huge buildup of rubber.
And inside.
And inside also.
Don't want to venture out there. We continue to watch Little Al. He closes once again on Teo Fabian.
When he came in for that pit stop, he was very happy with the handling of the car. He has slipped back in position, not because there's any problem with the car, but just by virtue of the timing of that pit stop. So he has the potential of getting back to those positions he had earlier, but at the moment, a lot of traffic to work through, Paul.
Right behind there is Bobby Rahal. Every winner at Laguna Seca started from the front row but one, and that was Rahal in '87 when he started third. DeFerrin started third today. Fastest lap of the race by Gilles DeFerrin came on lap 7, chasing Jacques Villeneuve, 108.1 miles an hour. The EDS scoring system flashing all these facts to us. Really, we're talking multiple systems that EDS supplies. We watch and have everything controlled off of a system provided specifically for television. The media has another system, and then there's an absolute fail-safe system that works for the officials of the race. So should we lose what we have, they still readily score the race, all electronically, all by computer. It's really marvelous.
Vassar, whose car does not like the sunshine. As soon as the sun comes out, this car becomes a bit of a handful. This is a fight for position, though, behind Bobby Rahal. Interesting, when it was cool, Jimmy Vassar had the fastest car here on the morning warm-up this morning and yesterday morning, Saturday.
62 laps complete, 84 the scheduled distance. It's still DeFerrin leading Paul Tracy, and Jacques Villeneuve and Alonso Jr. battle. Andre Ribeiro's car by the edge of the course. You can see Andre standing up behind the wall. And how did he get here? Well, obviously he drove. He was running just in front of Jacques Villeneuve.
That's Brian Herta. Whoa! Now that could have been very nasty. I'm not sure Brian Herta saw Ribeiro trying to go down the outside, but that was a wild ride to the concrete first, then to the tires. And this, in fact, is the chassis that Scott Goodyear drove at the Indy 500. Now watch, just slow the camera here, just slow down and just go a little bit more. Watch how high this car gets. Look at this, all four wheels virtually off the ground. And the leading car, Gilles DeFerrin, gets a grandstand view and thankfully goes down the inside and misses everything.
I'll tell you what, that is the one kind of contact you don't want to have. You get that right front in between those two wheels. That's what'll launch it, and that may be just a small launch.
Interlocking wheels and open wheel racing cars is potentially the most dangerous accident you can have. Remember, that was at about 80 miles an hour in the braking zone.
So sitting against the wall here in the last race of the season, the car, but for a black flag, might have won the Indianapolis 500. DeFerrin avoids it and leads. Back under a full course yellow now for Andre Ribeiro's confrontation with the wall after bouncing off of Herta. And during this yellow, Teo Fabi came into the pits, was unscheduled, and so Teo Fabi running the risk now of losing his track position. Jimmy Vassar has proven this season that a cool, non-complicated outlook can be easily mixed with his professional life and produce winning results.
We've had a great season this year with all the podium finishes, doing so well, made a big jump for my career. You know, we've been so focused and working so hard this year. It's the time away that I really enjoy, spending time with my friends. You know, I remember it just like it was yesterday.
painting the outside of your home. You want to listen to this.
I don't know where to begin. Always looking for that one unusual piece. Kind of rip. I'm going to have to take a pass on this one at 225.
Cut. You know, you got to do something athletic now and then. Lack of racing testing, I have to get my practice here at the bumper cars. One of my favorite places to go is the Baja Cantina. My friend owns it. He hangs my pictures and gives me free food. As you can see, we're all aspiring musicians at heart.
That was good, dude. Jimmy, wake up, wake up.
Jimmy Vasser lined up 8th position. The PPG pace car, Johnny Rutherford at the wheel, leads the field around. See Jack Villeneuve in there 4th back in the order. He is actually right now in, I've lost him on the board. Jack Villeneuve sits in 11th position on the course itself. So he has some work to do to get up to position, but a harder battle waits for Al Unser Jr. 66 laps are complete here at Laguna Seca Raceway. All right, we're under a full course caution while they get Andre Ribeiro's car off of the race course. The position was precarious. If someone else came off and tagged it, could create a bad situation, some injuries, so they want to get it off the race course. The actual order: DeFerrin, Tracy, Guzman, Pruitt, Michael Andretti, the top 5. Al Unser Jr. is 6th. Bobby Rahal 7th, and Vasser, Teo Fabi, Adrian Fernandez, Jack Villeneuve. He sits there in 11th. The championship is simple. It's a must-win for Al Unser Jr. Jan Beekes?
Paul, Roger Penske knows, of course, that is the case, and he's pulling out all the stops. On this restart, Emerson Fittipaldi is right ahead of Al Unser Jr. Obviously, there's been some communications between the two. Emerson will move out of the way, but then his job is to try and hold up Bobby Rahal, who sits behind. They know they have to go for it, and they're ready. They've been saving fuel during this caution. They'll turn it up when they get a chance, Paul.
So the season comes down quite simply here in the final laps to a charge through the field by Al Unser Jr. Derek, is he up to it?
He is up to it, but is the car, will it allow him to make that type of charge? From what we have seen this afternoon, he doesn't have the outright speed to get himself to the front by passing the cars ahead of him. So it will be an uphill battle.
And we don't want to take anything away from DeFerrin, who was so close to a victory at Cleveland and may be on his way to his first IndyCar victory as he leads the field back toward the green flag. And look at Jack Villeneuve as he slides across in front of Paul Tracy.
And remember, Villeneuve got the bad break with the pace car, because if DeFerrin had been behind Villeneuve when that yellow came out, he would have made up a whole lap and would have made his job a lot easier. Again, only if Al Unser Jr. wins the race will he need all those precious positions.
So back to green flag. You rode for a moment there with 2nd place Paul Tracy, who sits just behind Jack Villeneuve, who is a lap down. DeFerrin is able to ease away. Oh, more than ease away.
DeFerrin is in control here. Unless he has mechanical failures, he looks as he has the potential to cover everybody and maybe extend their tremendous record that IndyCar has this year.
Well, look at Michael Andretti alongside of Scott Pruitt. They go through this corner side by side, pushes Pruitt off. That can be a very dangerous corner to run off the right side. Pruitt keeps it under control. They climb the hill. Now will Pruitt be able to challenge? He's got Marco Greco between him now, or just in front of Michael. And Greco pulls offline. They both come screaming down the hill.
And that was a case of who was going to blink. Unfortunately for Scott Pruitt, Michael had that inside line, which is a harder turn to make. But Scott Pruitt rode him all the way, and he was lucky that he didn't get all 4 wheels off the racetrack. That was a very scary move. And Al Jr. squeaked past Emerson Fittipaldi.
So Al Unser Jr., 6th place, still trying to come forward. There comes Sam Pedri.
The problem Al Jr. has now is how hard is too hard. You have to make up your own mind inside your helmet. How risky can I begin to make these moves? But quite frankly, with so few laps, only 14 laps left, I think somebody like Al Unser Jr. now has to throw caution to the wind, and he has to get aggressive and take gambles, because if he doesn't, he's not going to win this. What was that?
Another car off on the left side of the race course.
Was that Christian?
Yes, Christian Fittipaldi. Remember, he moves to Newman Haas next year.
Boy, talk about losing track position now.
On board now, Fangio, as Michael Andretti comes down the hill in 4th place.
Michael and Peter Gibbons have been in deep in thought all weekend here, trying to work out a compromise handling package for Michael. But you can see Michael's car move around so much, and he slides down the inside, and Fangio gives him just enough room.
Just ahead, the 14 car. Ekblom, interesting story on his arriving in A.J. Foyt's car. On his way to be married in Hawaii. Just happened to be convenient, passing through Monterey.
Sounds like good credentials to get a drive to me. A lot of people getting married.
Yeah, the season's over. We're going to have Herta get married.
Brian Herta gets married next week. He then has a honeymoon in Greece. Then he goes back to Indianapolis to have some of the hardware taken from his leg. And in fact, his team owner, Chip Ganassi, will hear the wedding bells next week. What's Michael doing? Who's he waving?
What was that gesture? Just a tearaway going on?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, and the reason
Nobody
it looks like a wave
there.
Yeah, the reason it looks like a wave is he's doing 150 miles an hour. As soon as he sticks his hand out of the cockpit, the wind just drags his hand back. So much dust and sand flies here when cars go offline. When you follow cars for long periods, you get oil smears on your visor. Then the dust and dirt sticks to it. Then you take the rip-off off, and you got a nice clear windscreen again.
Unser Jr. is in 6th place. He needs first. The focus of the fight now, there's a presumption that the PPG Cup is moving closer and closer to the pit of Jacques Villeneuve, and will be awarded to him here as the youngest ever champion in the Indy cars. So the focus now will move to the battle at the front of the field. Gugelmin is in 3rd place. Paul Tracy is in 2nd. And Gilles de Ferran is 12 laps away from his first IndyCar win.
And of course, you are talking irrespective of what happens in the appeal. Even if they got all their points back from Portland, it won't make any difference. Look at the traffic jam here.
Yeah, it's much simpler now. Al Unser needs to win.
And Vassar and Rahal, that is a position battle there. 7th is Rahal. Jimmy Vassar is 8th. So this is a good fight here.
There comes little Al down the hill. There's Vassar and Rahal.
Johansson is struggling. He's in the mix there. He's a lap down in 14th. Look at Rahal. We saw him wave his fist earlier. He jerks to the inside, doesn't get by Ekblom.
Vassar continues in pursuit. Tries the inside. Gordon's right there as well. Rahal all the way, though.
Oh, look at
braking. Whoa! As Gordon tucks around.
Vassar locks up the left front. Vassar trying to get by Rahal. Good race here. Good battle here for these positions. Points all the way down to 12th.
Gordon, while he's physically present, is not actually into the fight. He's had one very tough day, having to replace a nose after contact. Fell out on the first lap, slid off the course, got back on. He's way down in the order.
Now there's the sand. You saw Rahal go wide. You saw the sand get swirled in behind the tires of Rahal's car, and Vassar has to run over that. That is one of the difficulties here. In fact, part of those $1 million plus development that Laguna Seca will go through next year is in fact to put curbing, exiting curbing on the outside of most of these corners.
Bobby Rahal, every race he has finished. He's been in the top 10 except one. He was 13th at Milwaukee.
Don't know yet whether he will have a 1 or a 2-car team next year. He wants to keep a 2-car team. They hope to stay together with Raul Boesel, although the partnership of Carl Hogan and Bobby Rahal will be over and done with after in about, what, 10 more laps.
That's some indication that Carl Hogan then joins in some way or another forces with Roger Penske.
There's that dust again. You see that gets swirled up by Rahal. Watch, he goes close to the curb again. As soon as you get outside that white line, that's when you begin to suck the sand onto the racing line.
Bobby Rahal continues in 7th place. 74 laps are complete. Al Unser Jr. is 6th. Needs a win. Gilles de Ferran may be scoring his first. Jimmy Vasser on a very, very slick course here in the closing laps. And he has been loose most of the last lap. In fact, everybody is fighting this very slick course. But at the moment, Brian Herta, Vasser's teammate, is with Gary Gerald.
Well, we said at the top of this show that this team has had such strange luck. Brian Herta, you had a steering wheel break.
Yeah, you know, it's just one of those terrible days, you know. We started off, you know, we took on the development engine program with Ford this year, and, you know, we just had a lot of problems. And yeah, as an engine took me out at the beginning, it cost us a bunch of laps. And, you know, from that point, I got together with Andre Ribeiro, and, you know, I never saw him coming. And then the steering wheel broke on the car. I mean, it's just, you know, just a terrible day for the Target Scotch cars. You know, so much promise, and yet, you know, we got nothing to go home with.
He starts with a clean slate. Next weekend, you get married. Best wishes for that, at least, and good luck in '96.
Thank you.
Wonder if now we've heard 2 comments that telegraph that maybe they're not going to be a Ford team in the future.
I don't know, but with the emotion in his voice, I would suggest he just grabs Jeanette and go sit on the beach in Greece and enjoy yourself and just look forward to a much more productive next year, because Brian Herta has all the speed and the technical ability that he needs to be a winner. He's already been on the pole, but he hasn't quite won yet.
Physically on the racetrack, just behind Jimmy Vasser, is Robbie Gordon. As we watch Al Unser Jr. move on Scott Pruitt, tries to get him, can't get it done. Pruitt comes across.
It's not over yet.
Maintains the line, but look at him coming off the corner.
Oh, there's one of the moves we talked about earlier. How brave can you be? Down the inside, rode Pruitt all the way, and of course Pruitt then locked up the brakes and kept the position.
This is a day that these two are going to talk about later. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Well, just to follow up on your comment about '96 and what would be the power plant of choice for Chip Ganassi, I just put the question to him a moment ago. He said, well, I have no comment.
So Pruitt still in front of little Al.
Because one of the changes we thought might be made was that the Newman Haas team would go with Honda power plants. But in fact, along with Christian Fittipaldi's announcement this weekend, they also announced, in fact, they will have Ford power next season for Michael and Christian.
Scott Pruitt heading for turn 10. Again, over $1 million in improvements coming to just this section of the race course next year. Lengthen out the pit, change the position of turn 11. I'll tell you what, folks up here, you know, and much of what happens at this race all goes to charity. It's such a great event and a good way to end the season.
I just heard something misfire. I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was Scott Pruitt. It was as Scott Pruitt went by one of our camera positions. It doesn't look as if he's any trouble here, but this team, led by Jim McGee, I think, Paul, it's fair to say, has more fun than anybody else. They have such a relaxed style and outlook about this team. They believe so much in Scott Pruitt, particularly as a test driver, and he's so good in racing situations. It's great to see that he did get his first win. And their test program starts immediately after this race finishes.
I'll tell you something else. Scott, like so many others here, it's a big family deal for him. His family is always at all the racetracks. You see his mom all the time, but that's true of everybody. Al Unser Jr. actually camps at most of the racetracks. 5 laps to go in the season. By the way, congratulations to the Daly family. Beth Daly going to be the Rookie of the Year in
the Pro Women's Division of the IJSBA Pro National Jet Ski Tour.
Glad you remember.
You prompted me to say it. I had to go through it.
Congratulations.
You hear that misfire again?
Yeah.
There's something misfiring as Scott Pruitt goes under our camera position.
He cracks the throttle just over the top of the hill. We're talking about Robbie Gordon. I just want to wrap that up. Robbie Gordon, when he finishes here today, there's a helicopter racing. He's waiting because he's going off-road racing yet today. Gil de Ferran climbs the hill, the leader of the race.
They deserve a win.
Absolutely they do.
That team has done a good job. They have shown so much speed. Gil de Ferran almost won the European 3000 Championship last year. Has already had a test in a Formula 1 car with Frank Williams. Unfortunately, David Coulthard tested the following week and he got the drive. But Gil de Ferran has shown such a turn of speed, and they will move to the Honda engine power plant for next season.
And there's second place Paul Tracy, 8 seconds back from de Ferran. Just ahead of him is Villeneuve on his way to a championship. Gugelmin and Andretti. This could develop into a battle for third pretty quickly. 4 laps to go in the PPG IndyCar World Series for 1995. Season fires up again with the first race at Miami next year. New track. In fact, from what we've seen of that track that Ralph Sanchez is putting together, it's going to be spectacular. Multi-purpose facility out at Homestead.
Winter test program down there for 5 days in January. It will be spectacular. Oh, look at Tracy. That has been the rule of thumb here. When cars begin to get away from you, you know the tires are going off. Michael in chase.
When they all get in, we're going to hear, I'm sure, boy, that's the slickest I've ever run on.
And right now, unless there's an awful big crash or an awful lot of very fast racing cars dropping out with mechanical failure, Barry Green can begin to lick his lips and taste that champagne, because he is so close now to taking that championship home.
Yeah, but I'm willing to bet that he's not doing it yet. I mean, he's so careful. He wants to see the flag. He wants to know it's over. There's de Ferran as he comes off of the second turn, goes into 3.
That's what 8 seconds of a lead looks like at Laguna Seca. Remember, though, he is in such control here. He doesn't need to go over the limit. Just nice and consistent. He lost his first race win with precious laps to go at Cleveland when he tripped over a back marker.
Car owner Jim Hall, they move over to Honda next year.
I asked Jim, does he still get the same kick out of racing now when he can't be quite as inventive as he was in years past? Remember the Chaparral, the high wing, the sucker vacuum car, sports car that Jackie Stewart drove? Never won a race, but it was spectacular. He said he still gets a kick from racing and winning at the front, even though IndyCar racing is controlled and regulated so much more than racing in the past was, and not allowing people like Jim Hall to be as inventive as he likes to be.
Well, even with that car, the sucker car of Jackie Stewart, they outlawed it so quick that he.
That gives you an idea how the potential of that car has.
Here comes Michael now closing down on Gugelmin as this battle heats up. Battle for third.
Let's listen to Michael play with the throttle. See, he gets loose, corrects it. Is he loose here? Yes, he is. Little correction. Higher speed. It's okay through there. This is the hard one. Turn 5 up the hill. Watch the steering wheel. Turns in. Reasonably good there. Of course, remember, he can control the oversteer with the amount of power he puts on. You can drive with the front wheels, and you can also drive with the back wheels, depending the power you put on. Oh, look at this.
If this driver can win this race as he takes the white flag, he will also win Rookie of the Year by a single point. How great is that? So de Ferran starts his final lap. Gil de Ferran, who was close to victory, as Derek suggested, at Cleveland. Jim Hall, his owner, looking for a victory here today. Paul Tracy 9 seconds back in 7. Jim smiles just a little bit.
And of course, we documented a great race at Vancouver when he almost missed it. They virtually rebuilt their spare car while Valvoline fueled all the racing cars for the restart, gave him an opportunity to finish second. What a way to finish the season. What a way to finish the season for Jim Hall. And few people will argue that they deserve this win. We're going to have 5 first-time winners.
Isn't that great?
5 first-time winners. Has never been better IndyCar racing than it has been this year.
The final lap of the PPG IndyCar World Series, and it's going to supply us with a brand new winner in the person of Jill DeFerrin. 5th first-time ever winner this year. 10th different driver to win a race this year. That's a record. And the first win for Jim Hall since 1991 as the checkered flag is unfurled. He acknowledges the flag, comes under the Toyota Bridge, and Jill DeFerrin has won it. But now Michael Andretti tries to make a move in the last corner. On Gugelman, he can't get it done. Tracy finishes second. Gugelman third. Michael Andretti fourth. Scott Pruitt fifth. Al Unser Jr. will come across the line in 6th place, and Jack Villeneuve will take the championship, Gary.
I'll tell you what, I don't know how you ever get used to this feeling that Jim Hall has right now. First time since the spring of '91. What a way to cap the season.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We've been working hard to do it, and we got a good team together, and they finally put it together. We knew we could do it this year, but it took a long time, and we're pleased. That's a great way to finish the season.
Spectacular as they got second last week. They win it here. Let's go to Jan.
Well, with even greater emotions, I'm sure, is Barry Green. How are your nerves there? Congratulations on the championship.
Thanks, John. What a great day. I mean, you know, a bit worried there for a while. It wasn't a normal day at the office for us. Junior was mounting his attack through the field, and you know, we were going backwards there for a while, but we had 2 punctures and knocked the front wing off and hit some debris on the racetrack. But I mean, just we soldiered on. The guys did a great job. Still finished 11th and got the championship. Just feels fantastic. Got to thank all my sponsors, Flyers and Klein Tools and Ray Bestis, just for all their support, and great team effort on Team Green's part. I mean, I just love them all.
Well, judging by your hat, you guys had a lot of confidence coming in already there. 1995 IndyCar champion. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot, John. It feels damn good, I tell you. Thank you.
I want one of those Team Green, the 1995 IndyCar champion caps. They've held them on now for 3 races. And finally, the dream comes true. A Canadian, the youngest ever to win an IndyCar championship. Jack Villeneuve has taken the win in the IndyCar series. We'll be back to talk with him.
So many times we talk about magic moments in sports. We're so happy to be a part of one right now as this rookie driver from Brazil peels off the helmet, pulls the earplugs out, and he savors a victory. The 10th different winner in a record-breaking season for competitiveness. Jill DeFerrin, his wife Angela, had just arrived. A victory kiss. Their little daughter is here. Oh my, what a moment. And the little girl is so frightened. She said, "Daddy, what's going on down here?" That's Anna, who's got the hat on. And Gilles, he wants quiet from the crowd here. Isn't this beautiful? What a moment. He's comforting his daughter. Tell us about the emotions that you're feeling right now.
It was great emotion, you know. The crew did such a fantastic job. We came very close all year. And this is just great. I mean, I can't express myself better.
She's fascinated by this microphone. Last week, you had to come through adversity with a backup car at the last minute to finish second. Now you get the win. Did you ever think that you could cap off a rookie season as you have done in an 8-day span?
Well, I don't know. I just tried my best, and the team did such a great job. I mean, this weekend, we had everybody covered. It was really good. I mean, it was a reward for the whole season's work. I'm just very pleased. The Pennzoil team is just the best, and I'll be here next year.
You are now the Rookie of the Year in this most competitive series. What do you think that'll mean to your countrymen in Brazil?
Good luck. That means a lot to me, for sure. And I think it will mean a lot to all the fans, both here and back in Brazil. This is a great feeling. I can't express it. I've never felt that good.
Does it make up for the disappointment of Cleveland when you were that close to getting the first win?
And more. It makes up, and it's better again.
We let him savor the moment with his lovely daughter, his wife, the crew, the family, and of course the Brazilian announcers. They want to send the word to their homeland. What a magnificent moment as we congratulate Gilles DeFerrin. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Gary, Gilles de Ferran has won the race, but the championship, of course, goes to Jacques Villeneuve. Congratulations. I know for you it's a huge relief to finish it here and not have to wait till September.
Oh yeah, it's great to know what the championship is right now. Whatever happened with the appeal, and we've won it, and then that's great for whole Team Green. They've done a great job all season. The championship, it shows the chemistry, the work of a whole season, and they sure proved they were the best.
Now share your emotions. We know you're leaving next year. Is this a bittersweet moment for you? I mean, you've won the championship, but this is your last IndyCar race for a while.
Yeah, it was the last race with all the guys there, and it's going to be tough, and it would have been great if we could have finished on the podium. But, we did a lot of pit stops today, so we worked well together.
I know, Jacques, you've got a lot of celebrating to do. Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's go back to Gary Gerald.
And Paul Tracy, who drives to a second-place finish today in his final ride this year with the Newman-Haas team. Tell us about this day. I know you went for the short fill on the first pit stop. You gained a couple of positions. Did you ever really get a chance where you felt like you had a threat to unseat de Ferran?
Well, I thought before we got that yellow when we were holding station with him that if we got a yellow, we were going to get a chance. And but he was just too strong for us. He drove a fantastic race for Jim Hall, and I'm really proud of him. He did a good job. We struggled the last 15 laps with tires. I ran out of rear tires and was hanging on the last bit, and Guzman was able to catch up. But we brought it home for the Kmart Budweiser car in second. It's a fantastic end of the year.
Any emotions now that might be a little bit strange as you go back toward Team Penske, cutting now this association after 1 year with Newman-Haas?
Well, it's been a great association. I think we haven't lived up to what our promise was, but all the crew guys did a great job this year. They really put their heart into it, and great pit stops was able to get me by people all year long, and I got to really thank them. And it's moving on, I guess, back home, back to Penske where I started. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to have a full test program over the winter, so I'm really jazzed about that.
With 10 different winners this year, I think the message is clearly written. It's tough to become a champion. You've got a big challenge next year.
That's for sure. It's definitely tough to win, and just to get a win is tough with so many guys who are running so strong. And it's this is the best championship in the world, I think.
Go claim that spot on the podium. Congratulations.
Thanks, Gary.
And Paul?
What an appropriate end to a fantastic season with de Ferran taking the win and Jacques Villeneuve taking the championship. There's plenty more to happen here. We're going to have it for you. We'll try and find little Al as well. Well, there is the PPG Cup waiting presentation to Jacques Villeneuve. Mauricio Guzman had a fine day after a tough weekend. He's with Jan Bikas.
Things started off pretty rough for you, getting in the spare car, trying to make all those changes, but a great run for you, another podium finish.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. The crew did a fantastic job. The Hollywood Pac West team is getting stronger and stronger. And we had a failure on the second day of qualifying, but we still finished strong. And let's hope we can start 96 the way we finish.
Now this momentum, reflecting on the season, really for you, what's the most memorable moment for you?
I think the start of the season, we start so strong, and also windy. I led so many laps, and we're building more experience, and I think next year we're going to be very strong.
With more memorable moments, let's go to Gary Gerald. Thanks, Mauricio.
The defending champion has now officially been unthrown, but my, what a gauntlet you threw down. This run over the last 5 races of the year, very impressive. What's the emotion now that it's all decided and you know that you will not be a champion?
Well, we're a bit down at Team Penske, but we gave it our best shot. We want to congratulate Team Green and Jacques Villeneuve, especially him. I want to congratulate him. He drove super all season long, and we tried our best. We started out in Miami, not very competitive at the first race, and then had our problems at Indy, missing the show, and then our deal at Portland. It's just been one of those up and down years, but we were competitive here at the end of the season, and we're just going to go for it on next year for sure.
We look forward to it, Junior, and congratulations on making it so very interesting. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I just want to say hi to Al and Cody at home, and see you later.
Okay, Paul.
You can see the fatigue in his eyes after a very rough season. So here's the way they came across the line, with de Ferran taking his first win, Tracy Guzman, Andretti, Scott Pruitt, and Al Unser Jr. Ray Hall, Vassar, Fabi Fernandez, Villeneuve, Raul Boisel. Fangio, Johansson, Gordon, who's off to a race for the remainder of the day. Fittipaldi, Johnstone, Ekblom, Zampedri, Giattarelli, Matsushita, Marco Greco, Christian Fittipaldi, Brian Herta, and Andre Ribeiro. Interesting day at Laguna. We still have more to come. Ford brought home the inaugural Manufacturers Championship with the help of drivers like Scott Pruitt, Jacques Villeneuve, and Michael Andretti. Ford edged out the likes of Mercedes-Benz and Honda. The Reynard chassis, in only its second season, won the Constructors' Championship, beating out the Lola and Penske chassis. And in the Nations Cup battle, the United States was victorious. No country had as many wins as the U.S. 1996 schedule. IndyCar begins their season on the 3rd of March in Homestead, Florida, and then a new race at Rio, Surfers Paradise back on the schedule, Long Beach, Nazareth, Milwaukee, Detroit, Michigan. As we look through the entire 96 schedule, then off to Portland, the airport at Cleveland, Toronto, the Michigan 500, then at Lexington, Ohio, that's the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, Road America at Elkhart Lake, Vancouver, Canada on the 1st of September, and the season wraps up right here at Laguna Seca on the 8th of September. Now let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Scott Pruitt comes home today with a 5th place finish. You had some great battles out there, both with Al Unser Jr. and with Michael, but some problems with your car later on.
Yeah, actually we were battling the gearbox, the selection between 2nd and 3rd from right to start of the race, and then we about 12 laps to go, we actually broke 5th gear. It wouldn't select, so it was a tough day, but it's been a heck of a season, you know, with Firestone, with Patrick, with Pennzoil. You know, I think that Firestone's done a fabulous job coming out of the box their first season, running as strong as they have, and right now I'm looking forward to 1996.
Now they came with a somewhat conservative strategy, Firestone did. Is that why you're excited for next year? Is there some stuff in the works you know about?
Well, they're not standing still. Well, I'm sure Goodyear is neither, but there's a lot on tap, and you know, this year was the first year of, you know, learning and getting experience and understanding what we need for next year, and you know, looking at it right now, we're going to be back, and we're going to be back tough.
Most memorable moment for you, obviously Michigan 500.
No question, the first win, and to come down like that between Little Al and myself, you know, that's racing at its best. 500 miles, and it comes down to, you know, hundredths of a second. That's one that's going to go down in the history books, and definitely was the sweetest for me.
Scott Pruitt, another first-time winner in 95.
Loved his answer about Firestone. Pretty good tap dancer as well as a race driver. That's Robbie Gordon climbing on board his helicopter, heading off for an off-road race before this day is done. Don't forget, coming up next, IndyCar Speed Shop. It's been a great season. You want some great souvenirs, including perhaps you want to buy Mario Andretti's IndyCar from last year, all available. That's on IndyCar Speed Shop coming up next. And when we come back, we'll take a look at this season just finished now that has crowned Jacques Villeneuve as the IndyCar champion and has so many great winners as Jacques Villeneuve's ceremonies officially now mark his championship up on the podium. We'll be back. Little photo opportunity in front of the PPG Cup denoting the champion in the Indy cars, Jacques Villeneuve. Final thoughts on the year now. Let's begin with Gary Gerald.
We make it very brief, Paul. Revitalization, new energy. I think that's the key in the IndyCar series. After the domination of Team Penske last year, to see 10 different winners this year and the emotion that their teams generated, that's something that I'm going to remember a long time. Jan?
I think so, Gary. And also from the chassis and engine standpoint, we saw Reynard, we saw Lola, Honda, Mercedes, Ford. It was awesome. Technically, also from a driver's standpoint, 96 should be even better, Gary.
We're looking forward to it.
And Derek Daly, it's been a terrific season. Brand new champion celebrating.
And I've never seen it better. World-class drivers like Gilles de Fer are now making IndyCar racing a global international championship as good as anywhere.
And don't forget, RPM tonight, you'll have a wrap-up of all the highlights of racing in the weekend. And Sally Larvik will cover the award of the PPG Cup here today. And that'll be, of course, at 8 p.m. tonight, Eastern Time, here on ESPN2. So it's been a terrific season. We thank everybody, especially the fans. And let's take a look at the highlights of this year.